in this video, we're going to go over 5 tips from the hardcore Olympic lifting community that will also increase your athleticism. Max and I started Olympic lifting to become more athletic, but we've both taken an independent interest in the sport in and of itself. So we're going to go over what a sprint block is, velo tracked Olympic lifting, high rep Olympic lifting, why variations make you cultured in the sport, and last point will be weekly variation swapping.
So the first point is the Clarence cheat code, which we've defined as a sprint block. And how will we define what a sprint block is?
This is something that Clarence Kennedy, really good Olympic lifter and pretty athletic, has brought up before, in the sense that you just do 3 months, maybe 8 to 12 weeks of high frequency Olympic lifting rather than 1 to 2 Olympic lift exposures a week for the year. And he thinks athletes might be better off doing this because they're just not going to learn the lifts very well doing them 1 to 2 times a week. So it is an interesting tool. We'll get into what the use case is, but that's the idea. Like, just do it super frequently and you'll get very good at it.
Perfect analogy is riding a bike. If you want to learn to ride a bike, it's probably going to take you a lot of time at first, but once you know how to do it, you're not going to forget how to do it. So with the Olympic lifting, if you build up the technique at first by doing a sprint block, your technique is going to be competent for the rest of your life, essentially. You're not going to have to relearn how to do the lifts. Your technique, you're going to work out all of the kinks in your technique at first, and then get that really terrible block of training out of the way where they're going to feel awkward, they're going to feel clunky. And then as you go on throughout the rest of your training life, you can just do them a lot less with a much lower frequency and still reap the benefits of doing the Olympic lift. Having the sprint block definitely maximizes your technical development and gets it all out of the way so that you don't have to keep on refreshing your technique in a big way by just doing them once or twice a week.
Yeah, I did a mini 2-week sprint block in Thailand. I was on a vacation and I happened to have access to Olympic lifting equipment to do it very frequently. And one of the benefits is you just get like uncomfortable. Like, I realized that I wasn't re-racking my jerk the right way because my shoulders started hurting, and you know, your hips will start hurting because you're hitting your hips with the bar over and over again. You know, so if you're just Olympic lifting as a lifestyle, you will just realize things that you're not going to realize by doing it 1 to 2 times a week.
And for me, I actually did Clarence's beginner weightlifting program, which was basically my sprint block. It's a 12-week program. No, sorry, it's a 10-week program where you're training 5 times a week. So that was literally what transformed my technique from being very suboptimal, not even being able to hit bottom position and a snatch, always missing lifts forward, backwards, just consistently making the same mistakes, to actually having competent technique. Like, my technique is by no means perfect right now, but it's competent enough that I've been able to clean 140 kilograms and power snatch and snatch 100 kilograms quite consistently. And I can continue to develop my Olympic lifts by just training them once, maybe twice a week, and still make decent progress. But if I hadn't had that sprint block where I'd done that program and done the grueling work for 10 weeks, 5 times a week, 50 total sessions over the course of 10 weeks, a lot of training, it's very intense. I don't think I'd be making the same gains I would with my Olympic lifts as I am right now.
So do you think it's an off-season thing? Like, what's the use case?
I think for athletes, it's definitely an off-season thing. You definitely are not going to be able to train Olympic lifting more than 4 times a week in season unless you do very, very low volume. But I think there's even a benefit to just doing the movements, even just with an empty barbell, and just practicing the movement and getting the skill in. And you can use that as a warm-up. It's a great warm-up tool. I use it with my athletes, my rugby athletes all the time. We'll do a clean complex as a warm-up for a lifting session, for instance, where you'll do different portions of the movement as reps and just do high rep movements like that and just make sure that they're doing it with high quality form. But I'd say if you're going to do it with a reasonable amount of load, like up to an RPE 7, I would say that, yeah, you're definitely going to want to do this in an off season or a time when you can really dedicate at least 8 weeks of training specifically to developing technical mastery or technical competency in the Olympic lifts.
Yeah, it would also be good for injuries, like knee pain. Just do
Mm.
a lifting block. That's probably not going to make your knee pain that much worse. What would an athlete be lacking that would encourage you as a coach to program a sprint?
If I was to program a sprint block for an athlete, it would be so that they could get more out of the lifts. Because if your technique is the biggest limiting factor, but you have like a big strength reserve on your clean, for instance, then it just means if you invest a significant amount of time in the short run, in the long run, for years to come, I know that when I program you like an RP8 set of cleans, I know that you're going to be getting the right stimulus that you need, and a very valuable stimulus, as opposed to a set of cleans where you're catching it on your wrists and you're missing it forward, or you're only going to be able to get like a good stimulus from the clean pull because I know you're not going to be able to catch it in a full depth clean, for instance. Um, that would be the perfect use case, in my opinion. Like someone who could get the benefit of the intent out of the Olympic lifts because they have a high strength reserve. Say, for example, someone who can squat 200, 180, like back squat 180 kilos, 200 kilos, but they don't even clean 100, like they can't full catch 100, then there's a lot of gains to be had from catching a full clean that would make them benefit from a sprint block. Point number 2 is velocity tracking, how to make your lifts crispy and snappy. So velocity tracking is not unique to Olympic lifting. It's done with just conventional general strength training. People will, for instance, do velocity tracking on a back squat, where you're looking at how fast the bar is actually moving in meters per second, and then using different bar speeds to attribute different training styles. So using different bar velocity ranges at different percentages of your 1RM is a good way to categorize how intense the lift was and how much intent you're actually putting into the barbell. And this can transfer quite well to Olympic lifting.
Yeah, I like velocity tracked Olympic lifts for secondary days or tertiary days of Olympic lifting.
Mm.
I don't know if there's a specific benefit of moving the bar faster makes you more athletic, apart from just Olympic lifting in general,
Mm.
but it will make the intent better if they're getting the
Yeah.
velo feedback, better than potentially doing RPE6 cleans. Like if you do an RPE6 power clean that's velo tracked, that'll probably be a lot better stimulus wise.
Yeah.
But the main benefit's that it's less fatiguing.
Yeah, precisely. I think innately as an athlete, if you can see a number that, like, when I try this hard, the number is that. If I try a bit harder, the number went up.
Yeah.
And you can see that like intra session, and also you can see the number improving session to session. That's just going to have so much more buy-in for athletes. It's just going to have so much more buy-in for the Olympic lifts, and it's just going to drive the intent so much higher as well, which obviously is one of the main benefits of Olympic lifts. It teaches you intent. So it's kind of like intent on steroids if you can do velocity tracking.
Okay, high rep Olympic lifts next. I wanna get into this one because I see it so often in the dunk community, and I did it for years on end, just only power clean singles, something like that, or just only singles ever singles.
Mm.
Um, and it's just not enough reps. Like you're getting like 3 to 5 working reps in a session. Maybe it'd be enough for a tertiary day, but especially as we've been talking about, learning lifts, getting good at the lifts,
Mm.
one rep is not going to go
It's not going
very
to cut it.
well.
No.
What's your experience with just like doing doubles and triples, and when did you start doing those?
I mean, I even potentially sometimes will do like even higher rep sets, like even fives, fours. I mean, just yesterday I did my 4 rep snatch set, like the snatch waterfall.
Yeah,
All of this has benefits for like there's numerous benefits. One is obviously improved technical development because you're just going to continue to build the technique by doing more reps. But as you go through the set, the reps get harder, and so that in and of itself is a way to progressively overload the Olympic lifts, just by adding on an extra rep at the end of the set, or by trying to increase the weight that you do on a high rep set. I remember vividly when I went to Bulgaria this was last year, so last December, I did a power clean set. Like I put 100 kilos on the bar, 220 pounds, and I was like, right, how many reps can I actually power clean this for? And I surprised myself. I was able to do 10 reps with 100 kilos. But if I'd never actually set the intention to do that and have the confidence benefit of that in mind, then I never would have done that. A lot of times people will think like, this is the weight that I can do for one. Why don't you try and just do it for three and see what happens? Like, especially if you obviously if you have a lot of experience in a high training age, maybe that's not the case for you. I'm not going to ask like Carlos Nassar to like, oh yeah, just do 230 for a set of five. That's not the case. But I'm talking about like the 20-year-old dunker or the athletics athlete who has just started doing power cleans and they're only doing singles. If you really tried a bit harder, you could probably do that 80 kilos for a triple instead of a single, and your form wouldn't break down that much, and you'd get so much more out of it. And then it gives you the confidence benefit. If I can do it for 80 for a triple, oh, maybe 80 isn't my best single. Now it's like 90 or 85. Like it does have a benefit in that sense as well.
Okay, what we've kind of been talking about this whole time is just becoming cultured with the Olympic lifts.
Yes.
What does that mean
of course. Being physically cultured. I think if you do just get into Olympic lifting in a big way and you've done your sprint block, you've already become physically cultured. I think that the Olympic lifts are some of the best tools for full body, just general athletic development, for general physical preparation. I don't think there's something else that can quite match the stimulus that a full clean or a power clean, a power snatch, a full snatch can have on the body in terms of general physical preparation, just making you more physically robust, making you more able to tolerate stress, to produce force and then accept force, to yield. I think that getting good at just the task of Olympic lifting generally is going to prepare you incredibly well for a lot of other things that sport and life in general can just throw at you.
Yeah, especially when you talk about like athletes that haven't played a lot of contact sports. I was lucky. I played a little bit of rugby growing up, and then mostly soccer and basketball. Soccer and basketball, obviously, they're a contact sport to a degree, not a hardcore contact sport. Rugby is a hardcore contact sport. And nothing can really replicate the confidence that you get as an athlete by decking someone in rugby, except for maybe popping 100 kg overhead, like pop 100 kg power jerk. You're gonna feel strong, and it does transfer to a lot of things, man. Even just mentally. Another thing I like to say: I've never seen an athlete yelling while they do a trap bar jump. No one cares, But you do clean max. I'm gonna test my vertical later this week. It's gonna be so good.
I've never seen a bunch of athletes get hyped up to test their trap bar jump. It just doesn't happen. But maxing out your clean, that's like a whole new level of excitement. Like being able to catch a heavy clean, like a weight that you weren't even sure that you could have, you can pull off the floor and then you get underneath it and stand it back up. Man, that's a beautiful feeling. It's physical development, but also there's the mental development and the mental edge that you can get from that as well. And yeah, as you said, if you're training for an impact sport like rugby, MMA, some kind of sport where you have to be physically dominant, you can catch a heavy ass clean with a body weight multiple on your chest and then stand it back up. I think that's going to have some good carryover into an impact sport for sure.
Okay, last thing we're going to go over is something that Max has been doing for the last maybe 12 weeks, which is weekly snatch and clean and jerk swapping. Max, how's it been going?
So this has been going incredibly well for me. And I'd say this is the reason I put this as the last point is because it's a bit more of an advanced strategy. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you haven't developed the competency in the lifts from the sprint block we mentioned earlier. But essentially, this is switching out the variations that you do every single week on a snatch and a clean and jerk. So week 1, snatch, week 2, clean and jerk variation, week 3, snatch variation, and then alternating as you go throughout. And then just it's like a random shuffle of a variation every single week. So for instance, week before this one, I did a clean variation, which was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a clean pull, a full clean, and then 3 power jerks.
Yeah.
No, 3 squat jerks. It was 3
Squatters,
squat
yeah.
jerks. Yeah, which was a completely different stimulus from the clean that I did 2 weeks before. And this week it was the waterfall snatch, which was a 4-rep snatch set where I'm pulling from different positions and yeah, just catching in a full snatch. So yeah, I'd say the main benefit of this is that you're just shuffling the variations. It's like a constant new stimulus, but it's still the same general task. So you're going to get the benefits of the variability and variety while also still getting good at practicing the same general task. What would you
Yeah.
say is a good standard to have reached, like in terms of multiples or like full and powers in the lifts before you can say, right, I can now drop down to 1 times a week variation shuffling?
We talk about this. So off the arbitrary standard, if you can full clean more than you can power clean, and it's 1.5 times your body weight, that
I
is
think that's
a
a reasonable
time
standard.
where
Yeah.
you can go to this advanced standard. This is really like this is the end of the picture, and it's really great that Max is able to do this now. And what I'm surprised about is that his top end is still quite good on the Olympic list, even though he's doing random stuff every week. If he wanted to max clean, which he just did, or max a
Off
snatch,
program, by the way. Off program,
still
by the way.
good. Like his top end is still good though, which is crazy. He doesn't even have to really
Yeah.
like do it.
The difference between like the contribution of technical development to strength development and how that changes over time. At first, most of your gains are going to come from technical development, like your sprint block, getting good at the technique on the snatch and the clean and jerk. Your total will increase just from developing your technique. But as you progress throughout your career, it's going to move towards just strength development. Like once your technique has reached a certain point and it's competent and you've maybe even more than competent, like it's advanced, most of your gains are just going to come from building up your squats and your pulls and your presses. If your back squat, that's the only thing that's changed for me over the last 4 or 5 months, really, is that my cleaning technique hasn't improved at all. And I haven't really been cleaning with that high frequency. All that's happened is my back squat's gone up, my front squat's gone up, my snatch grip deadlift went up, and obviously my deadlift has increased. So naturally, my general strength has improved. And so that's been what's led to my clean and snatch PRs over the last training block without actually really focusing on them.
Yeah, but as a powerlifter, that's probably not going to happen as much if you don't know how to do the lifts. You're still going to get strong. I've seen some powerlifters.
That's why you need the sprint block first. Sprint block first.
I've seen some powerlifters like power 140, but with like holding the bar out here.
Yeah.
Starfish, yeah.